G'day, Steve here, Woodworking Masterclass. Welcome to the workshop and the final part of the decorative plate rack. Yes, I'm so excited that this is the final part because this project has been one that's been hanging around for far too long. Job for today, cut this mortise, then I'm going to spoke shave the entire job, all the hard edges, and run a cabinet scraper over it. Then we'll cut the wedges, and then hopefully put it together and get some oil on it, and I can go and put it in the house where it belongs. All right, let's get started. The mortises are exactly the same as the through mortises. The only difference, there's my voice here, the only difference being I'm not going through, I'm going to a depth. And I'm going to a depth that is just a little bit deeper than this tenon here. And the reason I want to go deeper is because I'm going to put some fox wedges in there to hold it in. Okay, let's go. Be careful when you're doing this that you don't roll the back of the chisel onto these edges here because we want them nice and crisp. Now with the chisel, I've taken the waste out but not quite flat. So in order to get it nice and flat, do the best you can with the chisel. And the best thing I've found to really flatten it is, this is a Stanley 271. Or a little Veritas. Both work equally well. Now, all things being equal, this should fit in there. And there it does. And as you can see, I've got a nice tight join here. What I want to do first is take a spoke shave to all the square edges. For the straight edges, I'm just using the flat spoke shave. And that feels really nice to the touch. There's one shelf done. The thing I like about this finish is it's natural, it's straight off the blade. All right, so we've got that sorted out. These have now been planed, all the sharp edges are off them. It's time to move on to the ends. And for that, again, use a spoke shave. If you don't have a spoke shave, use sandpaper if you like. Now that's had all the sharp edges taken off. Now I'll just take the sharp edges off the back. Some of you may wonder why I don't use the spoke shave on the straight edges and I use a block plane. Now the reason for that, and it's personal choice only, on the straight edges, I just want them arrowed, but on the visible edges, the curved edges or the rounded edges of the front of the shelves, I really like that hand-hewn sort of look. So if I'm using a spoke shave, I'm not going to get one dead flat shave. They're going to be overlapping and undulating, and it gives a beautiful textural finish to it, which is a handmade quality I guess I'm looking for in this job. So I'll just knock this off with a blocky. Now that in itself is quite an acceptable finish. What I've done on the other edge to give it a little bit of contrast is I've carved a finish into it using a carving chisel. And I'll do it on this one, but by all means, if you like it just being plain finished, leave it plain. Or if you want to have a go at a little bit of a textural finish, try this one. Honestly, I think it's one of the nicest and easiest bits of carving to do on any job you're going to do. Chisel I'm going to use for this is an 810. I hope you enjoyed the process, because I certainly enjoy doing it. In real terms, that took me about 10 minutes, and that's not too long to get a really nice effect for a piece of furniture. So now it's time to start putting it together. On the bottom, I'm going to put a fox wedge or double fox wedges in here, which I'll show you what that is. On here, I'm just using a normal wedge. Here, I'll use a diagonal wedge, and here I'll use twin wedges on these two here. So first off, if I'm going to use just a normal wedge, what it creates is a dovetail. So I've got a tenon like that, and when I put a wedge in the middle, it actually flares the tenon out. So it's a bit like an internal dovetail. So in order to make that fit properly, I have to pare a bit away on the outside of both of these mortises. So when the tenon goes in and it opens up, it'll be a nice fit, snug fit in here. How I do that is from the inside, I just pare down and give myself a little bit of a wedging action. Take the shelf. It's going to be the one that fits in there. And if you look there, we've got quite a gap, top and bottom. That's what we want, because when I put that wedge in, it's going to open that tenon up. In this case, I'm going to use a gent saw or a dovetail saw. Now I've taken that right down to the end of the tenon. Just for safety, I'll get a back saw, which is slightly wider on the kerf, and I'll just clean out those wedges a little bit more. And there you have them there. So now I just mark out the length I want the wedge. Pop it in there. Mark it with a pencil. And just get my chisel. And there you have it. One wedge to go in there. It's just a case of getting the right end with the right end. Making sure it's home nice and snug. Get the two wedges. Now you can clean them off with a chisel if you like. Or if you prefer and you've got a flexible flush cut saw or a solid flush cut saw, just cut it off with a saw. Block plane. Make them nice and flush. Then with a carving chisel, if you want, you can just continue the carving over the ends, and there it blends in quite nicely. That's ordinary end wedges for tenons that you have to flare the mortises out to accept a dovetail. This one here, what I'm going to do is a diagonal wedge. Now that means it goes tangentially from corner to corner on the tenon, and for those you don't need to flare out the mortise at all. You keep the mortise square. Work out which direction you want that diagonal to go. I want it from the front bottom to the back top. So that's front bottom to back top. Screw it in with a knife. Make it a little bit bigger using a back saw. Measure off how much I need. Line it up. And then just knock him home. And with this one, I've actually got a little bit of a gap here that I took a little bit too much out of the mortise. I've cut 2 little wedges, and you'll never notice that there was a gap. Carving chisel. There we have 2 shelves. One there and one there. Now I'm just going to put these in, and I'm going to use double wedges in there for the back rails. Likewise with these, they have to have that wedge in because it's going to be like a dovetail effect once we put the wedges in from this end. Just a gentle one. Mark where you want the wedges to go. And there you have the first side all done. We haven't put the strip in yet, the carving strip, which we'll do now. And as you can see, what I've got is 2 short wedges. So the wedges are in here. Pop that in there. And as you can tell, that's not going to come out. Now I'll go ahead, fit the other side, and then it's just a question of finishing off and oiling it. I've noticed I've got some imperfections along here. So in keeping with some traditional woodworking techniques, I'm going to use a wax stick. I'm just going to mask off the area that's got to be done. So I take this wax stick, and I've got a heat gun. Hold it over the end of the wax stick. You see how that wax is just melting and filling up those cracks. Get a good sharp cabinet scraper, scrape off that excess wax. If you look at that, all those fissures and cracks in the grain have been filled. Now I'm going to grab some 00 steel wool. This is what I'm going to finish it in, which is a Danish oil, it's Libron. Now I'm going to let that oil just soak in overnight. Tomorrow I'll come back, I'll put a wax on it, and then it'll be finished. And there's one job that is all woodwork. There's no gluing, there's no sandpaper, it's all technique and mainly hand tools. And the only glue was a couple of spots of super glue along here where we've had a bit of a mishap with pulling something out. So I'll leave that, I'll see you tomorrow morning, put some wax on it, then we can put it up. So what I'm going to do is give it a nice coat of Libron furniture polish, which is a dark one, that's Georgian mahogany. I hope you've enjoyed the job. It's been quite a long haul getting this one done, but it is a lot of handwork involved. And as I've said before, there was no sanding and no gluing involved, all hand tools. Even these bits here, you could have cut out with a fret saw. However, as with all good stories, there's always a however. For those of you that have been following along, you remember I made an extra one of these. That didn't quite work out. Well, the powers to be, who this was made for, has decided it was such a good job she'd like another one. And I said, not a problem, but there's no way in the world I'm doing this one by hand. So I can use that bit of carving that I sort of had a hiccup with, And the next one I'll make, I'm going to use machines. I'm not using hand tools, so keep your eye out for that video. It will be a lot quicker than by this. And for those of you who, I don't know, don't like hand tools so much, it might be a great product for you. It'll involve bandsaw, router, and a table saw, I would imagine, and an electric screwdriver gun. So there you go. This is Steve pulling the shed door down on another project and saying, remember to keep it sharp, but more importantly, keep it safe. Enjoy your woodwork. If you like what we do, please like us on Facebook. And if you'd like to know more about this project or other projects that we've got coming up, join up the e-workshop at woodworkingmasterclass.com.au. And also any of the products that I use on this show, and a lot of the tools are also available at our shop. So if you'd like to check us out at woodworkingmasterclass.com.au and click onto the shop, you'll see the polishes I use, some of the tools that I use, and also some DVDs are for sale. Thanks again, look after yourselves, and I'll catch you in the workshop on the next project, which is coming up very soon. Bye for now. Whoa! Carried away there.